I find this so interesting because my father's Iranian.
Really?
Yeah, my father's Iranian.
My God, I have so many friends in Iran.
Yeah.
They are, sorry, why I admire Iran?
Go on.
It's totally different from other Arab countries. Yeah. It still has an incredible civil society life, philosophy. They translated there, in spite of all the shitty politics up there, they translated over 10 of my books. It's a lively intellectual country. What they did with... So, you are lucky to have...
Well, that's very kind of you. Yeah. But what he says is...
tell me, yeah?
He says, and I think this is an interesting point, I remember saying, oh, look, there's these Afghans are going to Iceland. And he said, listen to me, son. No Afghan wants to go to Iceland. No Afghan. You're born in this naturally fertile country, amazing history, beautiful weather, less than the last 40, 50 years, but historically it was a very fertile, beautiful place. And you end up in a place, this is not to besmirch Iceland, but you go to a place where you don't see the sun for 3 months. He said, no Afghan grows up as a child and says, you know what? I don't want to see the sun for 3 months and I want to live in minus 10 degrees C for 6 months.
Yeah.
And that's a really powerful point. And I do think a lot of European liberals, progressives, don't understand that. And I think there is this kind of strange, it's not racism, but like European superiority, which is, well, of course they want to come here. We're better. Well, no, many of them are coming because of war, sanctions, occupation, capitalist underdevelopment. But that seems completely absent from that conversation. Why? The left has this analysis about why these places have been underdeveloped by global capital. Yeah. And yet when it comes to this topic, that goes out of the window. Why is that?
This is another bad consequence of, I will give you a very simplified answer, of 68, when Marxism became cultural Marxism. In my orthodox Marxist term, it was recaptured by liberal culturalist ideology, and I deeply, sorry we don't have more time, I profoundly agree with you how precisely those Western liberals who pretend to be respectful towards the others are at a deeper level deeply patronizing on the others. Their whole value system, general frame, remains the Western one. And I think, now I'll put it like this. The way liberals are acting now, letting immigrants in, I am for this, but in a more organized way. And at the same time, with this focus on culturalism, I'm afraid that the nightmare is that the result will be that what is already happening in Sweden, Denmark, now Germany, France, this anti-immigrant politics will explode. So don't you agree? Here I would totally agree with your father. I don't know how, but the problem should be solved there, in those lands. Okay, we shouldn't now invade Iran, but we should at least reflect on how we also screwed it up with our politics, for example. Tell this to your father if you're...
Please, go on. I'll send him this clip.
I wrote a crazy text 20 years ago. Give Iranian nukes a chance. I was beloved by Iranian conservatives. But you know what was my point? Remember Iraq-Iran war. Saddam used the chance, invaded Iran. The world was silent. This was a clear aggression. He wanted to grab the oil fields in the south. United States, at that point, gave him, I read this in New York Times, gave him poisonous gases and satellite photos. There were no calls from peace. There were calls from peace only when Iran was pushing them, the Iraqis, back. So when there was a trial against Saddam, and Iran official government said, listen, he did his greatest crime towards us. No, this was totally blocked. Iran just wanted to say, we also have a list of crimes against Saddam. This. So are we aware that this then later on, the coup, the way they overthrew Saddam, The result is, without that American intervention there wouldn't have been ISIS and so on and so on. How we screwed it up there. Let's at least learn not to repeat this mistake. So I totally agree here with your father. Don't simply think that not only our land, but our notions of freedom and so on, don't think that we have the universal model. This is, for me, the lesson of 2001. It's the end of Fukuyama dream. 2001, I mean 9/11, no? Fukuyama dream was, we have liberal democratic capitalism is universal formula. Here and there countries are blah, blah, blah. And Fukuyama today now, you know where he stands. He's a nice guy. I met him once.
He is a nice man, yeah.
Yeah, he is, I don't know where he is now, but 3 years ago, he was pro-Bernie Sanders. He said, I got it wrong. Yes, I know. Slowly, we should do things like this. And all the best to your father. We need people like that. This is, you know what is so tragic? I'm serious, that at some level, what your father is saying, and many others, isn't this in the best possible sense?
Most Iranians I meet say that, by the way.
Yeah,
and they've come here as refugees. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that it is in the best sense of the term a common sense thing. It should be so evident, you know.